Welcome back. In the previous step, we got a 10,000 feet overview of what is a component. In this step, let's get our hands dirty. Let's play with components. Let's create a new component and let's talk about something called a class component. What we are doing in here in the app.js is extending a React class called component. You can see that it's imported from React. So to create a component, one of the options is to extend something called component and implement a render method. Let's remove the extends component and let's see what happens. Save. My to-do application has an error. It says cannot call a class as a function. It says there's a type error because it does not extend component. Let's rename the render method, render1. Does it work? Nope. It says instance.render is not a function. There is no function called render in the app component. How do I show it? Right? So whenever we create a component, extending the component class, we need to define the render method in it. Let's now create a simple new component, right? So let's create I'm copy pasting the app component and calling this first component. So first component extends component and I'll call in here first component, and the class name I'll also say first component. I'm saving this and going to the browser. Oops, where is my first component? Is it shown here? Nope, the first component is not being shown. Why is the first component not being shown? Because I have not asked the app to show it. So app is the root. Anything that you would want to show, you need to include in the app component. And what the way you can include the first component is by saying first component slash. So this is basically a node first component and I'm closing it right here. You can also define it in this way, slash first component. So both of these ways would work enough. You'd see my hello world first component being shown in here. What we are creating in here by extending a component is called a class component. So it's called a class component. We'll look at something called function component a little later in the next step and look at a high level difference between the class component and the function component. But the most important thing for now to focus on is to create a component and display it. All that you need to do is extend component, implement the render method, and include the component as part of the root component. The syntax which we are using in here is called JSX. We would look at JSX in depth very soon. Now, you can try an exercise. You can pause the video in here and create a new component called the second component and include it in the hello world example. How do you do that? So I would want to see a second component right beneath. How can I do that? Okay, I hope you had got a chance to do it. It's very simple, right? So class second component, and this would be second, and even this would be second. Will this show up? Will this show up? Nope. For it to show up, what we need to do is we would need to include the second component in the JSX of the root component. Let's do that. Will it come up now? Yep, my hello world, first component, second component. In this quick step, we looked at how we can create components, how we can create class components. We extend a React class called component, we define the render method, we return the JSX which needs to be shown, and that's it. It gets rendered on the page. I'll see you in the next step. Until then, bye-bye.